Tropical development is possible later this week. I'll let you know where and who could be impacted. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We're your home for Caribbean weather, and it's fantastic to see you on a Monday. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great weekend. Coming up in this video, we continue to monitor the opportunity for tropical development in the Eastern Gulf or the Western Atlantic later this week. All the newest information on that. Another very active day. We have massive thunderstorms. We have a ton of wind. We have some Saharan dust all plaguing the area. I've got your island by island rainfall forecast as well. As we get started, Meteo Mundo is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. It's storm season and the storm moves into your area. You get damage to your house, hurricane damage, hail damage, wind damage, whatever it is. They can walk you through every step of the insurance claim process. Go to leanonmelaw.com if you would like more information. As always, I want to hear from the Meteo Mundo weather community. What's been happening in your area, what the weather has been like. Appreciate those who joined us for our Saturday live stream, the Sunday video as well. Welcome to all of the new subscribers and members here at the channel. I do want to start this video putting a bow on Tropical Storm Barry. Maybe you were aware of it. You didn't tune in over the weekend, but we did get Tropical Storm Barry in the Southwest Gulf just before landfall into Mexico. Never became strong, but enough wind where we got a TS out of it. Now, this is bringing some heavy rain to coastal Mexico and then moving up into South Texas. All the numbers that you see are wind gusts in miles an hour, so some pretty strong winds there. Corpus Christi inland towards Victoria and San Antonio, 30, 35, even 45-mile-an-hour winds. Some rain that area desperately needs, but believe it or not, we've actually now had two named storms. Neither of them have been significant, especially Andrea. Remember, that was a 12-hour storm in the north central Atlantic. Barry did produce some heavy rain, some flooding, and again, some heavy rainfall falling as we speak in South Texas. But again, overall, they weren't significant, but we're going to wrap up June with two named storms in the Atlantic hurricane season. All right, let's get back out to the broad view here, guys, because I want to talk about some of the really active weather going on right now. If you look out in the Western Atlantic, portions of the Gulf and the Western Caribbean, in a general sense, you're going to see a counterclockwise motion. There's a lot of lift in the atmosphere in this area. First of all, there's just a ton of wind as well, and there's a good amount of showers and storms despite the fact that we're fighting some Saharan dust in many locations. Now, there is a more minute area of upper level low pressure and that circulation right over the northern Bahamas. And this is really spinning up some prolific activity in the Eastern Gulf, the Northwest, Northern, and even the Central Bahamas on this Monday. Now, that yellow area is the 20% chance of tropical development from the Hurricane Center for later this week in that area. I promise I'll talk a lot more about that coming up a little bit later in the video. But let's talk about the here and now. I mean, look at these thunderstorms just moving into the eastern side of the Gulf for the Bahamas right now. Thunderstorms are flaring up, even in the southeast Bahamas. Look at the Atlas. Look at all of that lightning. I mean, these are healthy storms. There's a ton of instability in the atmosphere. This upper level low is providing a lot of lift, and there's some colder air aloft. So these thunderstorms are billowing up, really high cloud tops. Again, in some spots, can't even rule out some pea-sized hail. I mean, typically we don't see that in the Bahamas. It's not out of question, but there's a heck of a lot of lightning. San Salvador there had a 35-mile-an-hour wind gust. Thunderstorms over Long Island and Cat Island and Exuma earlier. They're beginning to rotate around Eleuthera. We've had a couple near the Andros and New Providence area. A nice little thunderstorm on the north side of Little Abaco, and a few lightning strikes on the northern side of Grand Bahama as well. So very active pattern the remainder of this Monday under that upper level low. It is meandering to the north, but guess what? Very slowly. And as it meanders to the north, south winds will return, and there's even more rain and storms in the forecast for the Bahamas overall for the beginning of the week. And that's not even talking about how we could get into some tropical development by the end of the week. We have our live cameras here at Meteo Mundo. I love to show you those. I got to take you to Central Eleuthera. This is Governor's Harbor for you right now, live on this Monday afternoon. You can see the fresh breeze right now there in the foreground and the palm trees. Few passing showers in Eleuthera. It's been mainly dry, but we've had a little bit of rain. If you live on Eleuthera or one of the islands adjacent, please let us know in the comment section below what's been happening with the weather there. Now, I want to get back also to my friends in the Yucatan and Central America, because these were areas impacted over the weekend by what ended up becoming Barry. It was moving away as it developed, but there was a lot of tropical moisture, heavy rain. We had reports of flooding, again, portions of the Yucatan It is beginning to dry out right now. Cancun, Cozumel, Campeche areas. It was very wet over Belize, and again, some reported flooding. I hope it wasn't too significant, but my friends in Belize, let me know how it's going for today. Generally speaking, we're nudging in a little bit drier air, not completely dry. You can see some of the showers and thunderstorms developing over the northern sides of Honduras. Nice little lightning there on the southeast side of Guanaja. You can see that lightning kind of developing and working its way off towards the west. Strong thunderstorm over the northern coastline of Honduras and portions of Nicaragua at the hour as well. An interesting situation kind of developing over Jamaica at the hour too. Boy, these thunderstorms are beginning to develop. They're all kind of pushing to the east. Fast moving storms, nice little 30+ mile-an-hour wind in Kingston, Portmore, and Spanish Town earlier on this Monday. Look at these thunderstorms developing in Portland Parish and then working their way through St. Mary, St. Anne, northern coastline, Trelawney, St. James, Hanover. Eventually, again, that lightning just follow that thunderstorm marching across the northern portions of Jamaica. Nice lightning at the hour over portions of Westmoreland Parish as well. Savlamar, Negril areas. Look at that lightning coming its way through. So this has been a very impactful day. There's a lot of breeze outside as well. The large wave strong wind advisory continues for Jamaica. We're mainly dry right now in the Cayman Islands. And again, you know, we're talking about these thunderstorms with a lot of lift in the atmosphere, but at the same time, we're actually also fighting a lot of Saharan dust. When I bring on the water vapor imagery here, this is what it's going to look like. Let's see if it'll pop on. Okay. The upper level one is not working. Let's try the mid-level one here. Nope, doesn't look like that's the case either. That's the low levels. Yeah, it looks like we lost a little bit of data there right at the end. Anyway, what I can tell you is that we still have a lot of Saharan dust in play, all right? So these thunderstorms are trying to break through a relatively dry layer of air as they do so. And this is a picture I got from over the weekend. This tells the story. This is Georgetown, Grand Cayman. I mean, you can hardly see, and MC, you know, in the comment of his email was basically like, there's a lot of sniffling and sneezing, and, you know, it's kind of tough for respiratory sufferers to, you know, get going outside when you've got this layer of dust. Now, here's what's interesting, and I need my help with you guys because I didn't have a chance to write back MC. Obviously, the sun is that the moon? I mean, it almost has to be. It's too high on the horizon to be a light, and it's too big to be anything else offshore. But what an interesting shot. MC, appreciate you sending in that picture, but you can see the concentration of dust that was over the Cayman Islands for the weekend that was previous. Now, we're trying to get a few showers and storms developing over Turks and Caicos as well. We've had some heftier thunderstorms and in more isolated fashion with a bit more of a south wind today. You can see Port-au-Prince there. Look like they pick up an easterly gust, but generally the winds at the mid-levels have been out of the southwest, driving a couple of showers and a few lightning strikes in interior sections of both Haiti and the Dominican Republic for today. Boy, the winds are fresh again for my friends in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. 30+ mile-an-hour breeze in Ponce up to 35. Let me bring on the visible satellite imagery here. Again, at the surface, we still have our fresh easterlies coming through, all right? So mid-level winds are out of the south. There's a little bit of tropical moisture there. And then your low-level winds are out of the east. And we are seeing a few fast-moving showers here, but it's mainly dry, some concentration of Saharan dust, and a heck of a lot of wind. Now, we've had fast-moving showers over the Virgin Islands over the weekend. R brings you this shot over the weekend from Christian said, you know, again, fast-moving showers, so you catch a downpour, winds pick up, then the winds calm back down, might stay relatively cloudy, and you get another shower. Then from time to time, you get relatively sunny skies. And Isabel Surdy brings us from about the same area, Christianstead here. Again, same situation that she was describing in her email as well. Fast-moving showers of the weekend. Appreciate R and Isabel helping to tell the weather story there in the St. Croix area. But again, fast-moving showers. We're going to have decent rain chances in this area. Nothing outrageous, and sorry about that little yellow frame there. Happens from time to time to get one little bad frame in there. But again, situation over in Anguilla, St. Bart, St. Martin, St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua, Barbuda, places like that is with the low-level winds staying out of the east here. I'm still expecting there to be some fast-moving rain. I'm trying to get that frame out of the picture here. But you can see that that's going to be the pull of moisture in from the east, elevated sea conditions. We're trying to get the air quality back up to better levels. There's still some Saharan air layer here. There's still some concentration of dust. It's not as thick in most places as what it was over the weekend. One place I can show you that live shot where we have a little bit clearer skies today is our friends in St. Lucia. This is going to be from the Corinth area there, from the Calabash Cove Resort and Spa on the western side of the island. Now, this photo or this video on Friday, this live shot, So much haze in the sky. It's clearer. There's still some darker clouds. Not a lot of rain in St. Lucia for today. Really beautiful afternoon. Bit of a breeze from time to time, but overall a nice Monday there in St. Lucia. Same situation for my friends in Barbados, where again we've had, generally fair conditions. You can see earlier in this frame a little bit more dust in the atmosphere. We picked that up there when the sun's at a little bit of a lower angle. And again, easterly winds will just continue to drive in. Can't rule a couple of passing showers. We had a few over the Grenadines and Grenada for today. I do want to highlight the wind over the ABC Islands here. Earlier today, Curacao had more than the 30-mile-an-hour wind, but Aruba, Oranjestad, had a 40-mile-an-hour breeze. And I've been highlighting the winds in the ABC Islands. And I don't even have to just highlight it. I just have to show you this live image from Oranjestad. This was the area that had a 40-mile-an-hour gust earlier in the day. And again, this is a relatively high position from the Costa Linda Beach Resort. Look at that wind. I mean, it is kicking around those palm trees. Not a lot in the way of any showers for today in most spots of the ABC Islands, but a heck of a lot of wind. Friends, I hope you're getting something out of this video. If you have, give me a quick like. I really appreciate it. Thanks again for all of our subscribers, whether you were number 1 or the very last one. Appreciate you joining the Meteo Mundo weather community. We've got an awesome one. Thank you for sharing this with your family and friends as we get deeper into hurricane season. Help them get prepared for anything coming their way. Appreciate those who are members of the channel as well. If you'd like to do so, 2 tiers for you. Supporter tier we've had for a while. It's just 99 cents a month. You get the custom badges and emojis during our live streams. I shout you guys out. You want to kick it up a notch, Team MM members for $2.99 a month. You get access to exclusive member shorts. I grab my phone, I give you guys some of my thoughts either before the video or after, maybe updates to any tropical systems, just anything I could think of. For Team MM members, you get access to those shorts. Okay, Saharan dust is still concentrated right now, kind of right in the Central Caribbean, portion of the Bahamas. That is moving away. We'll still get a little bit more dust coming in the next couple of days, but not as concentrated. Down the road over the weekend, you can see Saturday, Sunday, the next plume moves in. So for the Lesser Antilles, the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, and Haiti, we're going to start to see more haze and lower rain chances begin to move in over the weekend. But in our western zones, that Saharan air layer really dissipates, and we're in store for a lot of tropical moisture in a very active forecast. So let me get back out to the broad view again. We're going to now start to get a little bit more interested in what's going to be happening here in this area. Let me do this real quick. Let's go to this, get rid of those winds. First of all, the amount of lightning is incredible, okay? So let's break this down over Florida in the Northwest Bahamas. First of all, any of the storm activity you see on this Monday has nothing to do with a potential tropical development. This is all from this upper level low spinning over the northern Bahamas, but it's aiding in the thunderstorms. I mean, they're going gangbusters in a couple of spots. It's not going to be until about Wednesday where we see a very weak front kind of plodding its way down and stalling out over the peninsula of Florida from the eastern Gulf to the western Atlantic. And along that stalled boundary is where we'll see the opportunity to get some spin. And it's a very classic setup for either late June or into early July, as old frontal boundaries never really fully work their way. Most of them don't even get into the waters of the Gulf or the Atlantic, but this one is going to. And along that line, we can start to see some rotation. Now, the biggest impact is going to be the amount of rainfall we could see in that area. Yeah, we could get some gusty winds. It's going to kick up surf and sea conditions. And I remind those folks who maybe aren't from the United States or aren't aware of what's coming up, it's 4th of July weekend. 4th of July is Friday, and this is going to be a huge outdoor vacation weekend in Florida, in the Bahamas, all around the southeast United States and other areas, simply because of the time of the year. So let's break down the GFS model. We're just going to look at the next few days first, not only here, but for other areas, island by island forecast. Then we'll deep dive into this. But first of all, you can clearly see that as we get towards the 2nd, right, which is going to be Wednesday, we'll start to see this boundary stall and a lot of moisture sit along it. Now, it's going to be very disorganized to begin with, but it kind of sets up for what's going to be happening down the road. I mentioned that as this upper level low pulls away, you'll start to note that there's a nice little southerly flow developing and moisture will continue to lift up from Turks and Caicos through the Bahamas and kind of up. It will begin to impact or merge with this area with additional shower activity. It's a very wet forecast overall for the northern or northwest Bahamas, portions of the central Bahamas, not only in the coming days, but for most of the week. And Florida, all bets are off. I mean, you're talking about an extremely wet forecast in those areas. I expect scattered showers over Cuba. I expect fast-moving showers to redevelop over the Cayman Islands and Jamaica. You know, the storms that developed today in Jamaica, they were ripping in. We could still get some morning rain and a few afternoon thunderstorms. The concentration of rain is still only going to be around 40% in Jamaica the next couple of days. It's not like we're going gangbusters here, but there could be locally heavy downpours. Again, the wind is a story. Look for those seas to continue to easily be 2.5 to 3.5 meters in the offshore southern waters, Pedro Morant Bank. So the high wind and large wave advisory continues. Strong wind, large wave advisory for all of the coastal waters of Jamaica and the offshore waters on the southern coast. So taking a look in Quintana Roo, drying out a bit. That's good news. We want that. Same thing for the northern side of Central America as well. Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, a little bit better chance for rain. You get back down into Honduras and Nicaragua compared to areas to the north. Again, we still have our monsoon trough with very heavy rain likely for portions of southern Nicaragua into Costa Rica and Panama. Ample moisture there. Please watch out for that. Could also still see some fresh winds continuing across the ABC Islands. There's a small craft caution for Curacao, but other boaters of the ABC Islands need to be very cautious. Outside of that, passing showers in the forecast, but nothing more than that. Same situation over most of the Lesser Antilles. A little bit more moisture quality and content in the Leeward Islands in general. Will be a little bit drier from Martinique south, especially St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, TNT and Barbados and Nueva Esparta in the next couple of days. However, there is another tropical wave that should begin to move in late Wednesday and especially on Thursday. You see just a little bit more moisture associated with that. So I'm upping rain chances in these areas beginning on Thursday. There's still going to be fast moving showers with brisk surface winds out of the east, kind of more scattered in nature for Dominica towards Guadalupe and Montserrat, and then a little bit higher chance for some rain coming back towards Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, Sava, St. Eustatius, St. Martin, St. Bart's, and Anguilla in the coming days. Nothing outrageously high. Once again, many dry hours and locations, but you catch a fast-moving shower to go along with these brisk easterly winds. It'll be the same situation for Anegada, Virgin Gorda, on over towards Joseph Van Dyke, St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John, Vieques and Culebra, Puerto Rico, the eastern side towards Fajardo, on over towards San Juan. A little bit better chance for a few showers overall compared to places like Aguadilla and Mayaguez. Punta Cana will have a better chance for some showers in the coming days compared to interior locations, as that easterly wind will pile up a little bit more rain. Samana Peninsula and Puerto Plata would be included in that as well. Again, scattered showers for the southeast Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, and still relatively quiet in Bermuda. At this point in time, all the mess and the malarkey going on out west, not going to impact Bermuda in the next 3 days, but down the road later in the week, it will. Now, before I get into the island by island forecast, I do want to bring up these winds. I'm going to loop these up as they make them a little bit bigger so you guys can see just a little bit clearer. By the way, we do have Flossie now. I do want to highlight that, the 6th named storm of the East Pacific season. There are some tropical storm watches and warnings north of the Acapulco coastline. Flossie is forecast to become a Category 2 hurricane. Could have some impacts to the Baja, but again, weakening as it gets into some cooler waters as it heads to the north. But very elevated sea conditions and some flooding coastal rains possible in portions on the Pacific side of Mexico. Again, in the ABC Islands, you're going to see these purple to white arrows indicative of like 30+ mile-an-hour sustained winds up there. Winds will be freshening in the northern side of Hispaniola and Turks and Caicos. And again, just to kind of show you what could be happening here, you notice that as we get into Wednesday and Thursday, that the winds begin to kind of go all over the place in this area in yellow. And that's why we'll just start to kind of slow things down along what's going to ultimately become a mid-level trough on the old frontal boundary. And we'll start to see if we can get any spin developing there. So, got the clicker. Let's go island by island. Looks like this. Northwest Bahamas, 50% chance tomorrow. 60 Wednesday, Thursday. Locally heavy downpours. Could be some strong thunderstorms as well. Again, under that upper level low, there's a lot of instability and support for some stronger activity. Central southeast Bahamas, rain chances build as well. Turks and Caicos kind of stays in that 30% chance, fast moving isolated showers. Cuba's rain chances are decent. The Cayman Islands still relatively dry through Wednesday, better chance on Thursday. Belize City's rain chances coming down, 30% chance Wednesday, Thursday. Good to see dry weather in Cancun and Cozumel. Again, in a broad sense, Jamaica's rain chances aren't outrageously high, but again, we had some good activity for today, up to a 40% chance on Thursday. Fairly good rain chances the next few days in the Dominican Republic. Puerto Rico's rain chances are actually even a little bit lower than that. Again, nothing outrageously high. USVI, BVI at around a 40% chance. Again, Bermuda is still fairly dry through Thursday. Anguilla's rain chances are decent, right? St. Kitts and Nevis will see a kind of an upkick in rain chances, that is, on Thursday, back up to a 60% chance. Solid showers here and an isolated thunderstorm possible for Antigua and Barbuda. Once again, on the windward sides of these islands, on the east side with this brisk east wind, sea conditions could be very elevated. So from time to time, we'll have some rain advisories. Montserrat, Guadeloupe, Dominica, 40 to a 50% chance most of the rest of the next 3 days. Gets a little bit lower the next couple of afternoons, Martinique, St. Lucia, SVG. But then as that wave moves in, it will impact southern areas a little bit more. So from St. Lucia south, rain chances will improve. So from an isolated to more scattered or widespread in Barbados on Thursday. Same situation building in Grenada. Decent rain chances in TNT, Suriname, and Guyana with scattered showers and storms. Not a lot of rain in the forecast the next couple days for Nueva Esparta and the ABC Islands. Once again, look at this blow up here on the wave height model of 8, 10, 12-foot waves. There's Flossie developing there. There's that core. Southern Jamaica, Southwest Caribbean, Northwest Caribbean still looking pretty rough. Eastern sides here of our Caribbean areas, and even some building wave heights into Turks and Caicos and the Southeast Bahamas. Now, we'll be monitoring, obviously, this, towards the July 4th weekend here in the United States, what might be happening there. But for right now, the model doesn't pick up a ton of extra wave heights. It's going to pick up a heck of a lot of rain. That could ultimately be the biggest story here, right? So along this stalled out boundary, watch as we get into the 4th and the 5th here and beyond, where you're going to start to see these rain totals go higher and higher and higher, okay? Could be some exceptional rain out of this, 4, 6, 8, 10 inches of rain, 200 millimeters plus. Still could be very heavy rainfall. Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, back down to portions of the Windward Islands, portions of the Bahamas as well, especially the Northwest Bahamas. Look, ultimately, you get up towards New Providence and Grand Bahama, you're just closer to this area, south winds feeding into everything. You just have a better chance for some of that locally heavier rain. This is what it looks like on the GFS model. So that was the European model. I'm going to take this out. Have I already taken it out? I don't think I have. I'm going to take this out to the end of the weekend, which is the 6th. We'll go out to Sunday night. Let me get back off this tropical area here, okay? So with the GFS model, I can actually just query these numbers if you guys have been aware. So, like Northern Andros, and again, we just average this. If we got 1 in Nassau, we got 3 in Andros, more than likely we're gonna see 2 with locally higher amounts there. Abaco's 1.5, 1.5 Grand Bahama, Bimini. But if you get just north of there, Walker's Key in areas north, and you're gonna start seeing a heck of a lot more, right? South side of Lake Okeechobee, over 7 inches. There's another big maximum here along what we call the Nature Coast in Florida, 6+ inches there. And then offshore, you've got pockets of high rainfall totals as well. First of all, the models still don't have a great handle on how this is ultimately going to play out. This is a developing situation. Every model run I've seen of both the GFS and the European and the more short-term models like the HURR model, the high resolution rapid refresh, they've been all over the place with this, right? I can actually show you guys, I don't normally show this a lot, but I can bring up what's called the high resolution rapid refresh model. It just goes out 48 hours, but it will kind of give you an idea, if this will cooperate and loop up, of how this upper level low is going to evolve. So watch this broader spin. So the models still don't really have a great idea of how this is going to play out beginning late Wednesday into Thursday and Friday when we transition from the influence of this upper level low to the stalled out boundary and the opportunity for tropical development. But you can just see all of the ample moisture that comes along for the ride here. Central, northern Bahamas, all of Florida, a lot of the southeast side of the United States in general. Let's see here. Let me go over to back to the GFS, and then let's go out farther in time. So I'm going to take the reflectivity and go ahead and bring it out to the end of the weekend as well. All right. So you'll just start to see on the GFS pulses of energy developing here. Now, I'll say this, generally speaking, over the last 24 hours, the activity in the Eastern Gulf hasn't been as significant as the Western Atlantic, so off of the east coast of Florida, right? But again, this is going to be a huge outdoor weekend for Florida and Bahamas, 4th of July weekend, a lot of beachgoers. I never give a specific vacation advice, but I will say this, it does look like, beach going activities are going to be hindered by this forecast. You're going to be dodging more rain and storms than normal. The surf and the sea conditions aren't going to be fantastic. You're going to have to check in with local area lifeguards because they could be flying red flags from time to time if this all kind of pans out as the models are showing. Just a really active forecast over the peninsula of Florida and the northwest Bahamas with this stall boundary, ample moisture. That will ultimately be the biggest impact to being outdoors is just how much it's going to rain. Now, could there be a wrapped up storm? We get a tropical depression, we get a tropical storm, absolutely. Could there be a fair amount of wind that comes along with it? It's plausible, right? This is the GFS model as of this afternoon. Now, you're going to initially see as this front comes offshore, there's some good wind with it. And then over the weekend, does anything try and develop right around here? And what happens to that? Does it get picked up by the Gulf Stream and moved up to the north and to the east? Or does it, as the GFS model, and even from what I saw earlier in the European, watch how this spin on Saturday morning actually retrogrades, that's what we call it, or pushes back off towards the west, towards the east coast of Florida. Interesting. Regardless, this would be like 25-mile-an-hour sustained winds from Jacksonville Beach all the way back down to Fort Lauderdale. Could you imagine being a beachgoer there on Saturday and having to deal with that, or trying to actually use the boat and get offshore? So it's just impactful weather regardless of any tropical development in this area. Going to be a lot of wind in the Caribbean. Again, Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, you should be prepared for 40-plus mile-an-hour wind gusts that aren't going away anytime soon, and just really freshening winds overall. Very active, progressive pattern. Things are picking up. You see Turks and Caicos back into the situation as well. Grand Turk, we're going to start seeing winds there also pick up in that 25 to 30 mile-an-hour range to go along with things. So that's kind of what I expect. This is the European model pressure plot. Now, the last model run before this was even more aggressive here, but you're going to start to see one develop. I got it pretty slow, beginning kind of tomorrow, but especially on Wednesday, kind of on the north side of that boundary. We get a couple of areas of low pressure on the Euro. Now, this would be an outrageously strong solution, and I don't buy it, okay? So that one's probably an outlier with its strength, but you kind of get an idea of the trophy pattern the European is showing, and just like we've talked about from the Eastern Gulf across Florida Peninsula and into the Western Atlantic off the east coast of the United States, some development is possible. This is what it looks like overall between now and Sunday. We're in that 20 to 30% range, again, mainly favoring off the east coast of Florida, far northern side of the Bahamas, moving up the Gulf Stream. This area here you can typically ignore. The European model has a bit of a bias continuing to try and develop off of that monsoon trough situated with that area of low pressure in Colombia. Now that, of course, is Flossie moving away, so that's why it's basically at 100% chance. Friends, I appreciate you guys. I'm going to keep you up to date across all of our social media platforms, and you can follow us across Instagram, TikTok, X, and Facebook. You can send me a picture or video, and the easiest way to do that is myMediaMundo@gmail.com. If you have a specific question about the forecast, feel free to drop it down in the comments section below. Again, while you're down there, thank you so much for taking a quick second and liking and subscribing. And please remember that Meteo Mundo is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida. They offer free consultation and policy reviews. It's storm season. You get storm damage. You've been in an auto accident. A lot of different things they can walk you through, the insurance claim process. You want more information, go to leanonmelaw.com. Friends, have a great rest of your day. I'm back tomorrow to talk more about this right here at Meteo Mundo.